Yesterday we were discussing Megillus Tainus. Megillus Tainus was written on Shabbos Daf Yomi Gimel. You know what? Hang on a second. Megillus Tainus was written by Chananya ben Chizkiah. This is the Masechta Shabbos we had. They went up to the attic and they went to the halachas, the 18 halachas about Tumah V'Taira, about the Truma. They used to put the Truma near the Svarim, so the Svarim they said it's Makabel Tumah to go ahead and avoid that. All those gezeres they made, the gezeres of Shniyos, that was made in the attic of Chizkiah and Chananya. So that he wrote Megillus Tainus. So yesterday we began saying the following: what's Megillus Tainus? These are the days that you can't fast. The opposite. It's not the days that you do fast, it's the days that you don't fast. There are 30 days you don't fast, and the most famous, of course, is Hanukkah and Purim. Those are the most famous days. The Gemara said we had a problem with the inyanim of the pasuk in Zechariah, where it said the fourth soimos, Asar B'Tevei, Shivas B'Tammuz, Tzom Gedalia, and Tisha B'Av, that these are days of Tzoim, and these are days of Sasaim V'Simcha. So how do we reconcile that? We said Sasaim V'Simcha is when there's B'Shalom, where there's Shalom, the Sasaim, and then when there's not Shalom, then there's Tzoim. We said when there's neither, then it's up to Klal Yisrael to go ahead and decide. We saw it yesterday in Tov Kuf Nun Dalid. We saw that it's been Kabbalah L'Doros that even if things are at peace, we will keep those various tiny size. So we said we got into a discussion about Megillus Tainus. What about the days that if there's a tzoim, if there's the days of fasting, can you fast on those days that you didn't fast? In other words, the days that they were attacking, can you fast on those days or not? So that was the machlokes. According to Rav Chanina, we said it was batla. Rav Chanina said batla Megillus Tainus, meanings you could fast on those days. All those 30 days, you could fast on those 30 days. And Rabbi Yochanan said, no, you can't. You can't fast on days. So we're in the middle of asking on the sheet of the one who said that it was batal. The one that said it's batal, and we are up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are up 8 from the bottom. We asked yesterday from Chanukah. We said Chanukah, even if Megillus Tainus was batal, Chanukah was not batal because of Pirsumei Nisa. So now we're asking again. We're going to ask a question on Rav and Reb Chanina, who held that Megillus Tainus was batal. We're going to show you that it wasn't batal. Days are important, guys. Betilsa betishrei, on the third day of Tishrei, betelis adrachta min shtarya. They were bottled the adrachta from the shtaris, the mention of Hashem's name. Shegozru malchus yavin gezera shalahaska shem shemayim al pm. That you should not go ahead and be maska shem shemayim al pm. Ukeshegavru malchus chashmenoyim, when they were v'nitzcham and Chanukah, hiskinu sheyimaskim shem shemayim afilu b'shtaris. So the Romans, they didn't let us go ahead and be Maska Shem Shemayim. When the Greeks, when the Chashmonoim was successful, we were Maska Shem Shemayim. Ad Kedei Kach, we were Maska Shem Shemayim in the documents. We write the Shem in the documents. Right? The Kach Kaisrin, this is the Lashon that you use in the documents. B'shnas Kach v'Kach, in this year and year, Liyochran Kohen Gadol L'kel Elyon. So they'd say that Lashon. So in the Shtaris, they would mamish go ahead and write the name. However, when the Chachamim heard, Amru, they said, he's going to have a loan document. He's going to pay it up. The document now is useless. What are they going to do? He's going to throw it out. And the shtar is going to be in the ashpa. So what do? Ubitlam, they mevatel the askarasa, adrachtim and ashtar, they mevatel on Gimel Tishrei, they mevatel going ahead using the Shem Hashem in the shtar. They mevatel that. For Isa Yoim, that day, Asau Yomtiv, they made it into a Yontif. So Gimel Tishrei is a Yontif. Now, Gimel Tishrei is a Yontif that what? You can't fast on Gimel Tishrei. Why can't you fast on Gimel Tishrei? Benji's bothered by Gedalia ben Achikim. We'll get there in a second, right? So I'm a free safety, I realize. And he said that they made it a yontif. They were so happy that they got rid of this problem, this having shtaris thrown out with Hashem's name. Now, guys, let's fair rice. Now, if you're going to tell me at this time they were mevatel Megillus Tainus, so I mean there's no such thing as Megillus Tainus anymore. Why are you creating a new one? The old ones don't exist, and now you're creating a new one. Ella, it must be the old ones do exist, and therefore you can create a new one. It doesn't make sense to make one when there was not others. Fred the Gemara. That's what you're going to tell me. But Lemegillas Tainis, Kamaisa Batal, the 30 days before this, they were Batal. Achronaisa Maisifim, and later on, afterwards, it's going to be Maisiv a Gimel Tishrei because you don't mention the Shem Hashem in the Shtarais. Al Ella must be that they weren't Batal. Kasha and Rabbi Chaninu says it was Batal. Good? Good? Got it? No. One more time. Megillas Tainis are days we have existing, we know that you can't fast. Fred the Gemara, at one point in time, is it still in existence or not? Said Rabbi Chanin, it's not in existence anymore. So just like you fast on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, and just like you fast on Asar B'Teves, and just like you fast on Tzom Gedalia, you're going to fast on any of those 30 days that in the past they didn't fast on. Good. We go ahead now. We recite a brisa speaking about in the times of the Tanoim, that in the times of the Chashmonaim, they went ahead and they made a decree. You can go ahead and write Shem Hashem Afil B'Shtaris because the overt to go against the decree of the Greeks. However, you know what happened? They began taking the Shtaris, writing up Shem Hashem. They throw it in the garbage dump after it's paid up. So when they were Mavatal doing that, they made a decree that you can't fast on this day. Fred the Gemara on Rav and Pchina, if you're Mavatal all the days you can't fast on, so now you're adding a day that you can't fast on. Bishlam, if the other one's in existence, I have 30, I'll make 31. If you're telling me there's none around, what am I adding to, right? That's the kasha. So, and for the Gemara, you know what? It's speaking Bisman Shabes Midrash. When is it bottle that's been made sign? When's it bottle that's been made sign? Meaning, when you're going to fast on the Asar B'Teves, when you're going to fast on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, right? Then it's bottle. Masha'en came in the Beis Hamikdash is standing. Those days are sasan v'simcha, right? The pasuk of Zechariah. Those days are not sasan v'simcha. Since those days are sasan v'simcha, of course, you can add another day. When did I say in the Megillas time this is bottle? After the Churban bias. When those days of Asar B'Teves and Italian, all those days, when all those days are at sign, that's when I said it's bottle. When those days are in existence, Beis Hamikdash, I didn't say it's bottle. So now, Fred the Gemara, the typically the Havile Yoim Shinerba Agdalia Menachikam. Okay, so let's fair ice, guys. The fourth Soimais, with the exception of two Tisha B'Av, because it was hookful the destruction, those three we said are now Sasaim B'Simcha. They were Soim, and now they're Sasaim B'Simcha. Good. One is Asar B'Teves, one is Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, one is Soim Gedalia. So if Soim Gedalia is a day of Sasaim B'Simcha, why was it necessary on Gimel Tishrei when they mavatal this din of having the shtaris written with Shem Hashem? Why do you have to make it at all? It already was a day you can't fast on. It was a day of Saslan B'Simcha. Asa B'Hesper B'Tainis. It's Tzom Gedalia, and Tzom Gedalia at this time when the Beis Hamikdash is standing is a Simcha day. It's Saslan B'Simcha day, so it will be unnecessary to add to it. It's you can't fast not because of the shtaris. You can't fast because it's Saslan B'Simcha. As I read the Gemara, it's a Gevaldige Kasha. And for the Gemara, Amar Rav, le'nitzucha ela la'esar es shalafanav, right? To go ahead and asa the day of time shalafanav. Okay, so now, not only are these days, guys, you can't fast on them. In order to ensure that you wouldn't fast, they didn't let you fast before or after. In other words, let's say Asar B'Teves, then Tes B'Teves you won't be able to fast. Yud Aleph B'Teves you won't be able to fast. Why? Because you want to ensure that you won't fast on Yud. We want to go ahead and ensure. We want to go ahead and make it like this. So the reason why it's mashma that if it's Tzom Gedalia, you would be able to go ahead and you would be able to fast the day before. So by adding the special din of the Shtaris day, that would ensure you would fast on Beis. You would fast on Beis Tishrei. That's what you gained. Tzom Gedalia, you will be able to fast on Beis Tishrei, right? As a result of this Kvias, the setting of this special day, you won't be able to fast on Beis Tishrei. That's what you gain. Amarav like nitzcha ela lesar es shalafanav. Fred Gemara shalafanav nami typically the havile yom shalacha Rosh Chodesh. No, now Rosh Chodesh, we know Rosh Chodesh you can't fast on Rosh Chodesh. So you can't fast on Rosh Chodesh. You can't fast on Rosh Chodesh. You can't fast on the day before Rosh Chodesh and the day after Rosh Chodesh. That's the Havamina. So if you're telling me you can't fast the day after Rosh Chodesh is Aleph, and Beis is the day after. So why do I need to tell me to be Koiveya, a special Yom Tif on Gimel, because of the Shtaros? To Asa Beis would be Asa because of Rosh Chodesh. So it's unnecessary. If your whole reason you're making Gimel to Asa is fasting on Beis, I have another Siba that you don't fast on Beis. It's the day after Rosh Chodesh. That's the Havamin of the Gemara. And for the Gemara, Rosh Chodesh, the Raisa Leboy Chizik. Guess what? Rosh Chodesh is the Raisa. It doesn't need a chizik, so therefore you can fast before Rosh Chodesh, and you can fast after Rosh Chodesh. I'm not worried that you're going to come to fast on Rosh Chodesh. It's the right, so you can't. By the Rabbanon, I'm worried you may come to go ahead and fast on that day. Therefore, it was necessary to go ahead and make a gezerah before and the day afterwards to be mechazik that day. Masha'en came by Rosh Chodesh, you don't have to make it. So ein achinami. Beis Tishrei, you would be able to fast Machmas Rosh Chodesh, but you won't be able to fast Machmas the fact that what? That it's a special day that they made the Gezerah that you can't write Shemus and Mishtaris anymore. So that's what I gained, right? The Tanya, Hayomim Ma'ela, Haksuvim and Megillus Tainis, these days that are in Megillus Tainis, Asurim, it's also to fast, Bein Lefnei and Bein Lachreim, whether the day before or the day afterwards. Right? Shabbos Yom Tovim, Heim Asurim. It's also the fast on Shabbos Yantif. Lifneim, however, before Shabbos, Lachreim, and after Shabbos, Mutarim. What's my hafish bein zulazu? What's the difference? Halalu divrei Torah, vein divrei Torah tzrichim chizuk. Halalu divrei seifrim, divrei seifrim tzrichim chizuk. Right? Okay, so now, if you just look at Rashi for a second, Rashi says, Loi boy chizuk, less lefanav l'achrov, aval yemei megillas tainis d'Rabbanon, but tzricha chizuk. In order that you want to go ahead and be mechazing onto himself. Okay, so let's see where we're holding now. We asked the Kasha on the Mani Omu who says that the Batul Megillus Tainis, and we see that it's not Batul because we added on a new day. And for the Gemara, it's speaking where it's based on Mikdash is still around. Based on Mikdash is still around, and the Megillus Tainis is still around. For the Gemara, if that's the case, on Gimel Tishrei, why was it necessary to make a gezerah that you can't fast? I can't fast because it's a simcha b'saslein. It was the day that Gedalia was killed, and saslein b'simcha. It's a little shverlich. Gedalia wasn't killed Gedalia was killed after the Churban Bayis, so it's hard to say that basically this was Kaim. That's a mitzvah to answer that, right? Maybe Tosfos answers it. But typically, the Havali Yom Shner Gedalia and Achikam Shehu Saslein v'Yom Tiv Kayim, when it was Mekayim. Right? The one who says it wasn't Batal, that's speaking after the Churban. Now he's asking a different question. Okay, anyway, I don't know. The Churban, maybe it has what to do with the Churban. Was, because Gedalia was killed after he was made governor. Was he killed before the Churban? I thought he was killed after the Churban. I'm not sure. I thought Gedalia was killed after the Churban. Okay, anyway. So now we said the whole reason that you made the special Gezerah on Gimel was to Asa Beis. Fred Gemara, Rosh Hashanah would take care of Beis. No, Rosh Hashanah would not take care of it. It's the Raisa. Okay, now question. Gedalia ben Achikam, that day Sas and L'Simcha. So of course, why don't we say you can't fast on Beis because of the same Gedalia? Why do you have to institute a special day Gimel for the Shtaros? Wouldn't the Sas and the Simcha of Gedalia ben Achikam Bisman Abayis accomplish the same thing? Why was it necessary? He'll say it's necessary to create base. Says the Gemara, Gedalia should also create base. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. The Havile Yom Shelifnei Yom Shened Bob Gedalia ben Achikam, who was killed on Gimel. So therefore, if that's Yemei Sasam B'Simcha, you won't be able to fast on base. Ashi Gedalia ben Achikam Divrei Kabbalahu. Gedalia ben Achikam is Divrei Kabbalah. But Divrei Kabbalah can Divrei Torah. Damu. And Divrei Kabbalah is Divrei Torah. There's different levels. There's different levels in things there, right? Gedalia was killed after. Okay. So now, why is it called Divrei Kabbalah? So why is it called Divrei Kabbalah? So there's a Rashi in Tainis. Shekol Makom she'anavi mitzuva u'masir es Yisrael. Anytime the Navi is commanded to warn Yisrael, Korile Kabbalah. It's called Divrei Kabbalah. And Rashi and Chulin the same thing. Torah Moshe Kruya Torah, Lefishanitna Torah, the Doires. Torah Moshe is called Torah because it was given the Doires. The Shal Neviim like Korila Ella Kabbalah. Shekibla Baruch HaKodesh Kol Nevun Levul Etzarech Hashav Adar. They do Makabel Baruch HaKodesh. So you have two pshatim, either because of the tzivoy the tzivoy they had, because of the tzivoy, or because of it was the Kabbalah Mesorah, they Philadoris, and but Divrei Kabbalah. Divrei Kabbalah is more powerful than Divrei Seifrim. Divrei Seifrim is the Rabbanan. Divrei Kabbalah is a stronger level, and here's a classic case. We're saying that Divrei Seifrim would need a chizuk, right? Divrei Seifrim would need a chizuk, but Divrei Kabbalah would not need a chizuk. So Memela, Divrei Kabbalah, Gedalia Menachikam was the Navi Zechariah. They said was Divrei Kabbalah. You would be able to fast the day before, because I don't have to ensure you're going to fast on Sam Gedalia. You're going to fast on Sam Gedalia because it's Divrei Kabbalah. So if not for the fact that I made this special gezerah because of the shtaros, that asked you to fast on days. So right now we're holding serve. Everything is good. We the Chonamat Yom Bottom Megillus Tainus. We have it's speaking with Mancha Beis Midrash Kayim, and everyone Rav Bechanina says Butla, and Rabbi Yochanan and Yeshua ben Levi say Eina Butla. As we continue, very nice sugya. Mosiv Rav Tuvi Bar Masna. Now this is one of the in Megillus Tainus. This is one of the days. Be Esrim B'Timnaya on the 28th day of Adar Bay. Asa Besurasa Tavasa. Came very, very good news. L'Yudai to the Jews. They didn't remove us from Torah. They didn't. No, this was the day that we were able to learn Torah. Shegozra HaMalchus Gezerah Shleyaska b'Torah. The Malchus, the Romans, I guess, made a Gezerah you can't learn. Ushlayemulu es b'neihem, and you can't do Milah. Ushichalu Shabbos and Yatim Michalu Shabbos. Again, the pasuk that they don't like the pasuk. Kihi chachmaschem ubinaschem. It says about the Torah in the Devarim Daled pasuk Vav. It's your chachma and it's your bina. So the Torah is a chachma, and Mila and Shabbos is an ois. It's an ois, and therefore they were mevatel that. They mevatel the ois and mevatel the Torah. Ma asa Yehuda ben Shamua v'chaveirav. What did Yehuda ben Shamua's chaveirav do? Holchlu v'nalu eitzam matronisa achas. They took advice from this matronisa. Shekol gedali roimim mitzuyin etzla. She must have been a zayna. They're older. They were found by her, and they went for her for an eitzah. Can you imagine? They went for her. She would know how to give a miyah. They should give an eitzah. What was the eitzah? Amalehem. Bo v'ifkinu b'layla. Go and announce at night, right? Because at night there's no other noise, and you'll be heard very clearly. Halchu v'ifkinu b'layla. Amru. This is what they said. Ishamayim, right? Lashon of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Ishamayim. For Kadosh Baruch Hu's sake, lo yachechem anachnu. Aren't you our brothers? After all, we all come from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. V'lo b'nei av echad anachnu. V'lo b'nei eim echad anachnu. We have the same paternal and maternal lineage. Man nishtaninu. Why are we different? We call Uma v'lashon. Shat negoyzim aleinu gezeres kashus. So they plead for mercy, saying we're fresh from blood. We're the same. And guess what? Ubitlam. They will mevatel it. For Oisa Yom, the 20th day of Adar, Asu Yomtiv. They made a Yomtiv. Now, this is clearly, guys, after this man bias. You're going to prove that this is clearly after this man bias, because Yehuda ben Shamua he lived later, as we'll prove. The same kasha we asked earlier. Kamaisa bottle, Achanaisa Masifin. The earlier one was bottle, and now you're adding on. The earlier was bottle, now you're adding on. How's that possible? Ella must be that light bottle. And what are you going to say? If you're going to say, Hachanami bisman shabeis hamikdash kayim, by Yehuda ben Shamua, Talmido shel Rabbi Meir. He was a Talmud Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir basa hachi havi. And Meir, he went ahead and he lived way after. Okay, we're going to prove in a minute that Yehuda ben Shamua was a Talmud of Rabbi Meir. But let's go through the lineage. Who was the last Tana at the time of the Churban Bias? We're familiar with the Gemara in Gittin, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 Talmidim. One of them was Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkanis. Who was the Talmud of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkanis? Was Rabbi Akiva. Who was the Talmud of Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Meir. So if Yehuda ben Shamua was a Talmud of Rabbi Meir, it's way after the Churban Bias, right? So that's the proof that Rashi brings that it was after the Churban Bias. All we have to left now to prove that Yehuda ben Shamua was a Talmud of Rabbi Meir. Okay, we're going to do it from a Mishnah. The Mishnah has nothing whatsoever to do with the price of tea in China. It only wants to prove one point, that Yehuda ben Shmuel was the Talmud of Rabbi. Okay, what's the Mishnah talking about? You have a kli, and it's made of glass, and it breaks, and now it was tamei, now it's broken. You go ahead, you take a piece of lead, and you put the lead back in. Now the halacha is that a kli that's made of metal, if you break it and put it back in of metal, it returns to its original state of tumah. So the question over here is, the maimed of the kli, and what's reinforcing, what's making the kli a kli over here is lead. Do you go after the glass and it's tar? Do you go after the maimed? This is one of pshatim. Do you go after the maimed and it's not? Okay, that's what we need to know. A glass kli that had a hole in it. The hit of the soiche ava, and you put inside lead. There you go. This is what we need, that line. Yehuda ben Shmuel is metame in the name of Remeya. I mean, in the name of his Rebbe Remeya. The Chacham say that it's tahar. Bottom line is, what do you see? Yehuda ben Shmuel was the Talmud of Remeya. And this is there, and we know Remeya left after the Churban Bayis, as we illustrated. And we see still they're adding what? Days that you can't fast. So how can you tell me that what? That Megillus Tainus is batal? How could they be adding days? It must be, it's not batal. And you can't tell me it's what speaking Mizman Abayis, because we've proven unequivocally that it can't be speaking Mizman Abayis. Kavaldik. Says Tanahi. In fact, it's Machloikas Tanaim. Again, Rav and Reb Chanina, Reb Yehuda, Reb Yochanan, and Yeshua ben Levi were all Amoraim. It's Machloikas Tanaim whether Megillus Tainus is batal or not. The Tanya. Hayom Me'elu, Haksufim Megillus Tainus. These days, Megillus Tainus. Bein Bizman Shebeis HaMikdash Kayim. Whether it's the time the Beis HaMikdash was Kayim. Bein Bizman Shein Ben Mikdash Kayim. Asurim. It's Asa Divrei Meir. So Meir clearly says it wasn't batal. Asurim means it's Asa to fast. It's Asa to fast. Why? Because it's not batal. Rabbi Yossi Omer Bizman Shebeis HaMikdash Kayim Asurim. When the Beis HaMikdash is Kayim, then it's Asa to fast. It's Meisha Simchahi Lehem. In Beis HaMikdash Kayim Mutarim. It's mutter to fast on those 30 days. Meisha Evelhu Lehem. The Hilchasa Halacha is batlu. The Hilchasa le batlu. The Halacha is batal, and the Halacha is not batal. Kasha Hilchasa Hilchasa. You have Kasha Halacha. Yes or no? So like Kasha. Kan b'Chanukah uPurim. Kan b'Shar Yemo. In fact, it's brought down the Halacha that Megillus Tainus, we fast on those days, with two exceptions: Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah and Purim are different because of, again, they've been accepted throughout Klal Yisrael. It's Meforsim. So these days we don't fast on. So listen to this Gavalga Kasha, guys. We all know that you just said that if it's the day before and the day after, you can go ahead and not fast, correct? How can you fast the Tainus Esther? You weren't batal Megillus Tainus, right? So your Dalit was intact, guys, right? How can we fast on your Gimel? It's the day before your Dalit. So the Ran asks the Kasha. Says the Gemara. Listen to this. Pirish, the Hiksharan in Cain, Heich Misanim b'Yud Gimel Adar. How can you go fast on Tainus Esther? It's the day before Purim. Ha'oisana osur mishum Megillus Tainus asa gam lefneim lachreim. You can't fast on Tesvav either. But here it's the Purim humi divrei Kabbalah. That teretz should have gotten, guys. The Purim is divrei Kabbalah. So divrei Kabbalah is like divrei Torah, right? It's stronger. Good. And therefore, that's why Soim Gedalia, it wouldn't have been enough to fast beforehand. You needed to create the day of the Shtaros. So who I did over here is divrei Kabbalah. But because Shabbos v'Yontif, the mutter to fast Yom Shalaf Neyem. So therefore, because of the chashivus of Chanukah and Purim being not Chanukah, Purim being divrei Kabbalah, the Meilavat, you can fast on your Gimel. V'ayim b'toisus mesechta Tainus Daf Yud Ches, because the dafkal in Chanukah Purim atzmam loy bitlu, aval inyan Yom Shalaf Neyem bitlu. In other words, they're mixing and matching. You know what they were mevatel, what they weren't mevatel, that it's still intact, Chanukah and Purim. But that other ancillary days of before and after, that Yitaka was batel. You know, they didn't keep that intact. It was only those days, but in Achinami, before and afterwards, it's not. So you have two terutzim. Either it's divrei Kabbalah, or it's because of the bittul of all the days of the Megillus Tainus included the days of before and afterwards. Everything's batel. Why would they reinstitute it? They said that Chanukah and Purim, guess what? They stayed the way they were. But in the day before and after, like the Tosfos and Tainis, would be batal, and you'll be able to fast. Okay, it's a nice kasha, two nice terutzim. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. Al Elul mfnei Rosh Hashanah, Al Tishrei mfnei Takanas Hamayadais. Okay, so this was Mendy's question. Kimin the nafik lahu Elul at Tishrei lamalahu. If you go out on Elul, why do you have to go out on Tishrei, guys? Elul, we said twice this Masechta, and we'll say the third time. La'olam from Ezra, it always was chaser. It was always 29 days. So once you know Elul's 29 days, you count the 30th day as Reish Chodesh, and you're going to have, that's going to be Rosh Hashanah. And that I know because they came, and that's Rosh Hashanah. Count 10 days to Yom Kippur and 15 days to what? To Sukkot. So why was it necessary to go out in Tishrei? As I Gavaldik Kasha. That's what Mendy is yesterday, right? So I answered him that sometimes it is what? Malay. Says the Gemara. If you'll say, I want to answer the Mendy, that sometimes it's 30 days and Reish Chodesh on the 31st day, so you had to know. Ivam Reb Chanina, Reb Chanina Bar Kahana, Ama Rebbe, Bimos Ezra Ve'elech, Leimatzinu Elul Ma'uber. We never found Elul that it was Ma'uber. It was always Chaser. And so therefore we have a Gavaldik Kasha. Why was it necessary to send that Shluchim on Tishrei? It's not unnecessary because you know exactly when Rosh Chodesh is. And for the Gemara, we never found a need. But if you did find a need, right? You would go ahead and make an Iber. In other words, if you found a reason, you would make an Iber. We're going to see tomorrow a reason because of vegetables, because of dead people. We don't want to go ahead and make Shabbos because you're going to have to wait 2 days. You're going to have to bury after 3 days, or your vegetables are going to wilt. So we'll see. So if they found a reason, they would. If they found a reason, they would do it. Now, Fred the Gemara, if that's the case, if the Ma'aber from the calculate Rosh Hashanah, you're going to calculate Rosh Hashanah because they're going to count 29 days, right? They're going to count 29 days, and they're going to keep Rosh Hashanah on the 30th, and when we Rosh Hashanah should be on the 31st. It says, "Mutiv to calculate Rosh Hashanah, leiskalkul kulam moedas." Better to blow a Rosh Hashanah, and then the rest of the moedas. So when they show up, the shluchim show up, and they'll say, "You missed the Rosh Hashanah. Okay, you missed Rosh Hashanah. You were on the wrong day, but at least you can get Yom Kippur and Sukkot is correct." They can nami that this is the reason they would send out. In other words, they're sending out not for Rosh Hashanah, but they're sending out for the Moyadim. Diktani, because the Mishnah learned Al Tishrei. What are you sending out? Tishrei? They takonas hamoyados. You see that what you send out for that, ensure that the Moadim should be what in the right time. Shma mina. That's why they went out to make sure they'll be in the right time. Rashi says, "They can nami the lahachi chosh rabbanon." The rabbanon were worried. Lekalkul shamoyados. That you're worried not about Rosh Hashanah, you're worried about the other Moadim. Ve'etiru sheyei Rosh Hashanah mekulkul, Rosh Hashanah mekulkul l'goyla, and they were okay with the fact that Rosh Hashanah may have been mekulkul in the goyla because they kept it on the 30th day when they should have kept it on the 31st day. Okay. Now Kislev mechanaka v'aldim ve'apurim. We said the Mishnah said they were shluchim go out on Kislev because of Chanukah and on Adar because of Purim. The ilunis arba Hashanah, and let's say it was an Ibiyah. Yotzin afal Adar sheni mifnei Purim loikatani. We don't learn that. The Mishnah said they only go out on the first Adar, and if it's an Ibiyah, they do not go in the second Adar. Good, that's what it said. You know, clearly they're only going out in the first Adar and not the second. Says the Gemara, Masnisan like Rebbe. Our Mishnah is not like Rebbe. The Tanya, Rebbe says in this Abro Hashana Yotza af al Adar sheni mifnei Purim. So our Mishnah said you only go out on Purim. And only Purim Rishon, it's not like Rebbe, because Rebbe said you go out even on Purim Sheni, on the second Adar. Now, what's the machlokes between our Tana of our Mishnah and Rebbe? What's the machlokes? Let's see this is about the arguing again. The Tana Kama holds that there's the mitzvah of Kriyas Megillah, there's the mitzvah of Shalach Manis, Ishla Re'yehu, and a Tanas of Yoinim, on the first Adar, on the first Purim, and the second Purim. So since you were Yoitz to the first Purim, you didn't send out Shluchim for the second Purim because you did all the mitzvahs in the first Purim. Umas Savar, And Rebbe's of the opinion, Kol mitzvahs haneges b'sheni, ein noiheges b'rishon. The mitzvahs, all right, they're not noig b'rishon. And therefore, since they weren't noig b'rishon, you didn't do any of the mitzvahs, it's necessary to send that shluchim to know Purim in the second Adar exactly when Purim is, because that's when you can be yaitz in the mitzvahs. That would be a good reason why Rebbe would send out the second one and not the first one. Says Malay, that's not the right pshat. That's not the Sfaras Machlokes. The Kuli Alma mitzvahs haneges b'sheni ein noeges b'rishon. The mitzvahs of that's noeg in the second is not noeg. We all know that this year is going to be in Ibiyah. Purim is going to be what? In the second Adar, not the first Adar. We know that. The Machlokes over here is regarding Ibishana. What does it mean? Right? How much is the day of Adar? The Tanya. Kama Ibishana, when you're Ma'abar Shana, how many days in the extra month? How many days? Lamed Yoim. So Kama Ibishana Lamed Yoim, 30 days. In other words, it's a full month. It's a chaydesh. Now, obviously, if the first one said 30, it must be when he said chaydesh, it must be 29, or else there's no machlokes, right? If one said openly 30 days and the other one said chaydesh, it must mean 29, or else there's no machlokes, right? So very good. Maishna Lamid, what's the reason? So what's the svara now? Guys, since you know that Adar Rishon is 30 days, it's unnecessary to go ahead and send out for Adar Sheni. Just count 14 days from the end, and you know it's going to be Purim. It's going to be Purim. Masha'en Kain, if it's 29 days. So guys, same thing. Why don't you count, So that's the Mars Kasha. In other words, whatever day it is, if you know exactly what day it is, there's no reason to send out on Purim Sheni. If it's 29 days, count from the 30th day. If it's 30 days, come from the 31st day. But you're going to arrive at your Dalit or Tesvav in Yerushalayim. You're going to arrive at what? Purim. So why is it necessary to send out on the second day? The Havmin is the following. Like Rabbi, like the Tanakama, it's 30 days. Since it's 30 days, it's unnecessary. But like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, who said, that it's Chaydesh, it's necessary. Fred the Chaydesh, you're telling me it's 29 days.
Didn't we say the same thing with Pesach Sheni? Wouldn't be the same question. Did you have to go out on Pesach Sheni also? Or no?
That's not an Ibba month, Heshi. Sometimes Nisan is Chasa, sometimes it's Malay.
So you would send it out Pesach Sheni. Okay.
Yeah. So says the Gemara, the Kuliyalma mitzvahs haneges b'sheni ein neges b'rishon. V'hacha be'ibashana kamifleki. The Tanya, kama ibashana lamed yoim. Reb Shimon Gamliel mechaydesh. Now, here the Havamina guys is what? It didn't speak it out. Ferois. The one who says Lamed Yoim, you don't have to send out. The one who says Chaydesh, you have to send out. Fred the Gemara, Maishna Lamed, what's Lamed? The Yodai Chaydesh, they know exactly when it is. The Yodai, comma, they know exactly when Purim is, because they count. Chaydesh Nami, 29 days, Yodai also know. So how did you answer up the Machlokes like Rebbe in the Tanakama? Says Amra Papa, Manda Chaydesh, Ratza Chaydesh, Ratza Shloishim. No. That's the problem. The one who says Lamed Yoim means it's always Lamed Yoim, and therefore you don't have to send out. The one who says Chodesh, it doesn't mean it's always 29, sometimes 29, and sometimes it's 30. That's why he said Chodesh, guys. Sometimes 29, sometimes it's 30. That's Rebbe Shita. You have to send it out. Rebbe holds the Ibra, sometimes 29, sometimes it's 30. Therefore, for that 1 day difference, you have to make sure when you get Purim correct. So like Rebbe's going to the Shita of Shimon Gamliel. That's why you're sending out, because some days the Ibra month is 20, some days it's 29, some days it's 30.
Blaze, wouldn't it be a problem? Blaze, wouldn't it be a problem also if they're ma'aber on the 29th day? How would the people know that there was an Ibra year in general?
What do you mean?
In other words, how would they know that the year was added, the month was added, if you didn't send out?
Okay, I have to take this phone call. Hang on 1 second. Make good news. Hello? 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 Yes, what's up? Yeah. So what do they do for an Ibba? They figured out the Ibba Chodesh. They were able to send it out. I mean,
wasn't there the time you could do it up to a certain date? And
yeah. Again, not well. They're saying, if they would have kept, it's a question. I think we're going to discuss that in the Gemara. you kept the first Purim and then in Ma'aba, but you do the second time around. Yeah, okay. I think we'll figure it out. So it's later on. So now, hey, says the Gemara. Hey, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum Kehila Kedisha di Yerushalayim, al Shnei Adorim shemikach shemesa, biyom ibureihem. Now, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, he held that on the two Adorim that they were both chaser. Remember the chaserim avdinan, malayim lo avdinan. Guys, if you mekadesh them on Yom Iburim means the 30th day. So if you mekadesh on the 30th day, that meant the month before was the 29th day. So the Edus of Yeshua ben Levi was not like we just said, right? We just said it's the 30th day, or sometimes 30, sometimes 29. Like this, the Edus of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, it's not like that because they say it's always 29. That's what he's saying. One more time. Hey, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum Kila Kedish Yerushalayim, Al Shnei Adorim Shemekach Shemeisam Biyom Ibureihem. The memra the Chaserim Avdinan Malayim Lo Avdinan. Good. That's a statement. This is opposed to the drasha of Rav Nachman Bar Chisda. That hey Rabbi Simoi Mishum Chages Achayim Malache. So now, guys, we need that both Adorim should be chasa, both 29s, right? That's what we need. And now we're going to see a conflicting view. That they testify based upon Chages Achayim Malache al Shnei Adorim Shimratzu Lasoisan Shnei Malayim. Oisin, you want to make them both 30 days? Great. Ashleim Chaserim, you want to make them both 29 days? Great. Oisin Echad Mali Bechachasa 129, 130. Oisin. Kachayinoyim Begoyla, and that was the minig in Ardoi. Mishum Rabbeinu Amar Lo'olam Echad Mali Ve'echad Chaser. One is Mali, one's Chaser. Achiyivod Lecha Shehukva Reish Chodesh Bizmanoi. Until you become known that what Reish Chodesh was Kaiveya in the Zman. Up until that point in time, you would go ahead 129, 130. Rashi says, "Shulk Rosh Chodesh Uzmanai Asham Lecha Haboyim Eretz Yisrael." The ones who came up from Eretz Yisrael will tell you, "Kitshu Bezdin Rosh Chodesh Ada Hasheni B'Yom Lamed LaAda Harishayin V'Yasser Harishayin Chaser." So again, this is Benji. They would show up and then would go ahead. When they show up, they would go ahead retroactively make it. It may not be. It could be you kept Purim and you didn't keep Purim. Again, but us, it's a moot point. We have the calendar. Now, just remember, the calendar was written by Rav Hillel, the Amoira Hillel, not the Tana Hillel. The Amoira Hillel, we have no problem. This was in the days in Mekalish Chodesh. Okay, Yosim Midrain, we had a beautiful machlokes about Megillas Tainus, whether it's bottle or not. We have Psak Halacha, that the 2 days that we have the not bottle are Purim and Chanukah. You are able to fast before because of the fact that it's either Divrei Kabbalah or because that they were mevatel those days before. I thank everyone for listening. Again, tremendous mazel tov, hartzka mazel to my chava, my Yidid Nefesh, Baruch on the nuptials of his son. Bez Hashem Yisbarach, should be Bizmane, Be'ita, it should be Simcha, should be with Simcha. And I'm looking forward to sitting on the Staten Island Expressway and in the Garden State, coming in a bad mood, having Heshi get under my skin. I'm looking forward to all of this. Mazel tov.